reaching beyond the borders into the unknown. Welcome to Paranormal Investigations of Oklahoma.
Hello everyone, this is Kel Epperson, and thank you for joining with me here on Paranormal Investigations of Oklahoma. We are here live at Bell's Mystical Beginnings. Yes, we're back again, and this time we're talking with Miss Corina Bell. She is a spiritualist and a ghost hunter herself. We're going to be located down on 529 East Main Street in Norman. How's it going, Corina?
It's wonderful this morning. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. We got some just before we get off the going here with Corina, I just want to kind of talk about some of the paranormal conferences that are popping up. We got Paracon 2014, and it's going to be in Guthrie, Oklahoma, and it looks like it's going to be starting off on October 18th. It looked like some of the key speakers are going to be Dee Park. She is a medium and the co-founder of OPA. Jeff Provin, he is with OU Ghost Tours, and he's an author. He'll be down there speaking. Courtney Sides, she is a psychic medium. She does the paint drawings and does the readings with paint. If you haven't got a chance to see that, I really recommend that. Kathy Nance, she is the haunted chef. She'll be down there also. And she's real good about speaking on photography, paranormal stuff in photography and in photos. She kind of discusses the do's and don'ts. Bill McDonald, he is a Bigfoot researcher. And I know on a lot of these podcasts I do, it's more on ghosts and the ghost phenomena. Hopefully I can jump in and do Bigfoot one day and aliens. My last podcast was on shadow people. So I kind of want to keep things stirred up just a little bit. Linda Mayers, the Reiki Master, she'll be down there. Spooks, they will also be down there. Tanya McCoy, she is the co-founder of OPA. She's a ghost hunter and a spiritualist herself. And the Reverend Harlem Bell, that's Corina's husband. So that should be a good time. Like I said, it's Paracon 2014. That'll be held in Guthrie, Oklahoma, and it'll start at October 18th of 2014. And also, just kind of a quick reminder, Midnight Paranormal and Pros Investigations are doing ghost tours down at the Guthrie Mercantile Building. This building was made back in 1880, and it used to be the Walmart of the time for Guthrie. The trains would unload their merchandise, and it would all go into this mercantile building, and it would get sold. You know, seed or any farming equipment and stuff like that. The admission for the ghost tours are $5. They do accept donations. And all that money goes to restoring the old location. The building's kind of getting a little decrepit, needs some roof work, and it's a part of our history. And with something like that, I think it's a good cause. You could ask the Midnight Paranormal crew or the Pros crew about their Paranormal 101 courses. And the investigations are Fridays and Saturday nights, and the investigations go through 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. If you're interested in the ghost tours, you can contact Lindsay Miles at 405-339-4645. The Mercantile Building will be located on West Oklahoma Avenue in Guthrie, Oklahoma. And it's just right across the tracks, folks, from the Santa Fe Train Depot in Guthrie. So go check those guys out. I will be down there. You can investigate with me. And yes, we are here live at Bell's Mystical Beginnings. We're off of Main Street, and they're right off of Porter. We're right close to the fire department and the Allstate Insurance Company. If you're curious about what their store is, they sell just mystical items such as charms and bracelets and jewelry. You can get stuff like oracle cards and t-shirts, crystals, different stones. They have stuff here you can use for ghost investigations, such as dowsing rods and stuff like that. I want to introduce Corina Bell. How's it going, Corina?
Hi, it's going all right. Hello, everybody. It's nice to be here.
So, how long have you been in the paranormal field, and how long have you been a spiritualist?
I've been a spiritualist most of my life, and as far as the paranormal field, I've been on a few ghost investigations with Tanya and Dee, and with you. I really enjoyed going. Most of my life, I have been going into places I shouldn't have, like old plantations and stuff like that. I'm from New Orleans originally, so I've always been interested in things I didn't know about.
Anything that goes bump in the dark.
Yes.
One thing most of my podcasts have been about is more of the scientific basis of the paranormal. I've been getting a lot of messages on Facebook and on my YouTube account about more people that are wanting more of the spiritual side when it comes to ghost hunting, with using abilities, different other items besides our scientific equipment such as gauze meters and ghost meters and stuff like that. What kind of things do you use when you go ghost hunting? Is there certain things that you use, such as pendulums and stuff like that?
I do use pendulums because you can actually find spirits that way. I also use the dowsing rods. They're not that hard to use, and anybody can pick up a pair and start right off with them. They just have to know what they're doing.
So, how does the pendulums work? And can you kind of describe those in case no one's ever saw a pendulum before?
A pendulum is an object that hangs from either a string or a chain, and as long as you can pinch it between two fingers so that you can hold it still, that it'll sway and it'll give you a yes or no answer, and sometimes it's pulled to a spirit to let you know they're there.
And it's a form of dowsing if the audience doesn't realize what that is. You can get like a board that has yes and no on there. You can ask questions that way. You can hold the pendulum up right towards the middle of this board, and you can ask the spirit, okay, are you a male? And if the pendulum swings towards yes, and you can feel the energy as the spirit pulls it towards that yes. But also, if you're trying to figure out where the spirit's at, what direction, you can feel the pendulum actually being pulled. Now, doesn't the pendulum usually have either like a little wooden bobber at the bottom or a crystal or some form of stone?
I have one that it was made out of raw materials, so it's a piece of leather, old leather, and it has a holy stone at the bottom, just a small stone that has a hole all the way through it. That's nature made, not man made.
Mm-hmm.
And then it has a small stone tied at the other end, so it's something to hold on to. We have several kinds here at our store. They have different kinds of stones on them, and they have beautiful, beautiful ones that are made out of, they have chakra colors going up them, so they can be used as healing the body, which people who don't understand that, it means that you can take that pendulum and hold it above someone who is sick, and it will let you know what area the body needs to be worked on with energy healings. Much like you would ask if a pregnant woman was going to have a boy or a girl, you would hold it over her belly and it would move in the direction you ask.
What else do you use when you do your investigations? Is there like certain stones that you use or any type of crystals?
I actually carry several stones with me for several reasons. One, I like to carry pink rose quartz, and that's because it's a healing stone, and it's also calming. So it's one that you can actually hold on to if you feel a little nervous when you go out, because there are times that I go out that I feel a little nervous, but I know why. I pick up on what other people feel. I'm what you call an empath, and there's several people that way. Some don't realize it yet, but eventually they will.
And one thing I want to keep, like I always tell the audience, is to always have an open mind. When it comes with the paranormal, there are several people that have abilities, and I met a lot of people that have claimed abilities. Like I said, with the audience, I want them to keep open-minded. This episode's going to be more on the spiritual side than the scientific. Myself, when I go investigate, I'm not claiming to be an empath, I'm not claiming to be a psychic, but I do occasionally get impressions, and I can tell when the energy in the air changes from either hot and cold, or the air's getting thicker. With your body, it's kind of like an antenna, and you can kind of focus in on that spiritual energy. I've been to locations where you're getting impressions that you almost know it's a male or a female. And I know a lot of people are listening, they're probably thinking, oh, Kel, you're full of crap. Well, like I said, just keep an open mind, folks, because on the show, I just want to make sure everybody realizes that, yes, I talk a lot about the scientific side of it, but, this episode's more on the spiritual side of it, and also with using abilities. You can tell if the spirit is a good-natured person at one time, or it was a negative person at one time. I've been on one investigation where I was just in this room and I can feel the negativity of this spirit. With ghosts, if you were a good person in life, more likely in death you're going to be a good person as well. And if you're a negative person in life, then your spirit is more likely going to be negative also. The best way I always try to describe how that feeling is if you've ever been in front of somebody that's hostile. They're screaming and yelling, or they just get this mad demeanor, or like they're jumping your case, and that feeling you get that's coming off that other person, you're being receptive to it. Like I said, your body's like an antenna. It works the same way when you go ghost hunting. When you're in a room, you can feel that spiritual energy, and you can tell if the spirit is good or bad or being negative.
Right. A really good example was from the place that we just moved from into our new store. At the old place, we had several spirits that hung out there. There were several spirits that hung out in the store, and not a lot of people could sense them, but we could. There was a child that I could always tell when she felt a little unnerved or whatever, because she would knock something over and she figured she was going to be in trouble. Then we would just explain to her, it's okay, you haven't broken anything, you're not in trouble, you can hang out with us. I even left a balloon for her because I felt bad that she was there. And then we had several, and I believe there were several gentlemen that wanted to hang out and they wanted to play cards, and they smoked. I could smell the smoke very heavily in that room. And I got to where I thought at first it was my imagination. So I took someone else into that room and I said, can you tell me anything about this? And they were like, oh, somebody's having a party in here. They're smoking and cutting up. And I said, I thought it felt heavy, but I wasn't sure. Because when there's several of them, I feel like they're all gathered around and they're like trying to take up space around you. And sometimes you got to go, okay, it's time to back off. And I have to put a shield around me to keep me from getting drained of too much energy.
When you go on investigations, one study scientifically and spiritually that we discovered is that ghosts draw energy. That's how they survive, because they're made of energy. So they either pull it from the environment or they pull it from something man-made, such as, electrical outlets or junction boxes, or they could, all else fails, they pull it from people, because we generate energy ourselves. I know a lot of people probably just got lost saying, shielding? I don't understand any of that stuff. Well, we have to shield ourselves a lot of times when we go into these locations, because you can feel a heavy presence come on you. I always talked about on the show, and people ask me is, they're worried about demons or ghosts possessing you. You have to allow that to happen. You can tell if something is not right with yourself. And shielding is one of those things, it's kind of hard to explain how you do that. There's several different ways of shielding. You got any examples of shielding?
Yes, I go outside and I like to take my shoes off and stand with my feet in the grass. And I picture my feet becoming roots and going into the ground. And then I see a white light that surrounds my head, and I picture it surrounding my body. And I feel the energy and the comfort of Mother Earth, what it gives me to be able to protect myself. And I keep that white light around me as I go through.
And see, like for me, for shielding, I like to focus my energy where, I'll have my eyes closed, or just in my mind, I visualize that all my energy is coming together in a ball, and this ball is slowly starting to expand, and when it expands, it covers my whole body. Sometimes I visualize my shielding as a suit of armor on me. Everybody has different religious beliefs when they are in the ghost hunting field. Some people are pagans, some are Buddhists, some are Christian based, and everyone's different when it comes to shielding, but it's all pretty much the same. For me, I'd like to put that full armor of God on, and it deflects any negative that comes near me. like your aspect of it, of visualizing the roots. It has nothing really to do with suits of armor or dirt. It all boils down to you're just focusing your energy, and in your mind you're just visualizing something to protect yourself, and you're actually using your own energy, and it expands out and it protects you.
Exactly.
And you can focus your energy just not to protect yourself, but even your whole home.
Right.
So
my husband and I live in Moore, and we've been there for the last 4 years, and so we were there during the tornadoes this past year. And one morning I went out to put trash in the garbage can, and I saw a white figure go by. And when I looked up, because I said good morning, and I looked up and no one was there. And they didn't have time to leave. I mean, it was just split second. So I know that people that have passed on still hang out because, number one, they don't know they're gone yet. Some of them are stuck here because no one has figured out they're here and they need help to leave. Some of them don't want to go, and that's fine too. But the ones who are stuck and need help, I like to help them cross over if I can. Like the children, I don't like to see them stuck. I want to help them. Our animals, you know as well as I do, because you helped with my dog when he passed away. He was huge. And I still have him around. He still comes by and brushes my leg, or you can hear him snoring. I heard him snoring yesterday. So, it's when they get ready, and if they're angry sometimes it's because no one's figured out that they need help crossing over.
yeah, and they're just basically earthbound spirits.
Right.
So tell me about some of the investigations that you've been on, about kind of start to finish when you went into a location. You don't have to name the location, but just kind of explain what locations you went to, and what you sensed and what you felt, and how all that ties in with paranormal research.
We went out to a place that's not far from here. It's a school, and we got to go to the top floor, and while there I had a very heaviness, and I was very, very dizzy, and I couldn't even walk through the building. I had to stay seated. That's how bad it was. There was something there that was just angry. A time before that, when I got to go the same location, I kept getting stuff coming to me. There was a little boy, but the things that were coming up on the meter that were talking to us, it was a bicycle, highway, and a child. But it didn't say whether it was a boy or girl. I just felt like it was a boy. Later on, it was confirmed to me that a little boy had been hit on his bicycle out on the highway. The one that was very angry was a man, and he was very strong. And I know that there was a few of the other team members that were getting, like, he was causing headaches and things like that. For me, I couldn't stop the dizziness, but I wouldn't let it go any further than that.
And I do believe that spirits, they kind of impress themselves on you for a little bit, because they're trying to communicate with you one way or another. I've gotten symptoms before of going into a location where, you get massive headaches. You're like, why am I getting a headache? And then you end up finding out later that somebody died in the home. They either had a stroke.
Yes.
Or maybe they were killed or something, and that was the impact point. I've been in locations where you felt like you had chest pain, back pain, and then you find out later those areas of your body that you felt, that tension, is whatever was left behind of when they got killed.
Yes.
And it sounds kind of harsh, but sometimes you get those impressions of how they passed over. And I just believe it's just a ghost trying to let you know what's going on, because I think they can tell you're sensitive to that. Or maybe you're just sensitive to that residual that's left in the air.
Right. I went into a store just to look around with a friend of mine, and was looking for things like shoes for my husband, stuff like that. And I got a real heaviness in my chest, and I couldn't figure out why. And I was talking to a lady who knew the store before that was there, and she said they had a woman that died of a heart attack there. So it was something that was strange and unusual for me, but it was when I was learning about believing in myself and the things that I did pick up on. I went into another store later on and my head just became numb. Brain aneurysm for someone that died there. And it's very common now, and I have to be very careful to go into different places and pick up on the energies that are left behind. It's very sad sometimes that you feel these things. I remember a time being someplace and feeling like there was a child hiding behind my skirt, and I didn't know at that time that there was a child spirit. It's several things. I remember seeing cats that weren't really there. They would just come from nowhere. But I have been told before too that I have a lot of animal spirits around me, and mine are mostly cats, anywhere from small regular house cats to a lion. And it makes a lot of sense. So, I kind of like being able to help. I like letting them know they're there. I do talk to the ones. I do have ones in my house. I have animals. My sister comes and visits sometimes. She passed away in 2003. But I can smell cigarettes and hairspray when she comes to visit. We have a friend of ours that he passed away in his favorite place in the woods. And when he comes to visit, it's the strong smell of cinnamon. It's just people have their way of letting you know. Particular smells, particular things that happen out of the blue. We sometimes find things that do connect with the ones who have passed on, and we don't know why. Well, this is their way of saying, hey, I've come to talk to you today, or I just wanted to check on you.
And what people don't realize, even if you're on a spiritual team, you still try to debunk. Just because you go in a room and you smell cigar smoke, you try to make sure that the smell's not coming from like the wood in the wall, because certain objects can absorb smells. I've seen teams, they'll smell the wall. It sounds kind of funny, we don't recommend that you crawl on the floor and smell the carpet. I'm just saying that sometimes they'll try to debunk something. Yes, smells is I've been to locations where it's a damp, dark, musky basement, and I can smell a woman's perfume. There's
Right.
no reason why you should be smelling a woman's perfume down there.
Exactly.
And some of that could be just residual energy left behind. I mean, it's really no telling. That's why we're kind of in this field to try to figure out what's going on. I've done research before when, like you were talking about animal spirits. One of the best stories that I heard was this blind lady, and she's in a nursing home. And she needs to go from her room to like the restroom down the hall. This is one of those nursing homes that, they don't have a restroom in their own room. They have to go out.
Right.
So she was calling for an aide, and the aide kept telling her, well, I'll be down there in just a second. So when the aide finally got clear to go down there and help her, she says, well, that's okay. The other nurse took me down there. And he's
Yes.
like, what other nurse? And she said, a person came into her room. Now, this lady's blind. So she could feel his hand, and he led her all the way to the restroom.
Right.
And then led her all the way back. And the nurse's aide was like, I'm the only person here.
Yes.
Stories like that. There was a place that I go and investigate down at the Mercantile. They actually have a ghost cat. You can feel the animal brush up against you. We had a plasma ball set up, and we use it as a trigger item. And the whole night it never went off. And all of a sudden, now we're in this old basement, and it's sealed off, and we heard this cat meowing. Now, in this basement, trains pass this building on a day-to-day basis. At least every 30 minutes, a train will come by. And you could barely hear the train.
Right.
Because somebody mentioned, like, well, maybe it's a cat on the outside, you're just hearing him echoing in the basement. Possible, but if a train's coming by and you can barely hear the train, I doubt you could hear a little cat meowing outside.
Exactly.
We're hearing this cat meowing in the basement, and then all of a sudden, the plasma ball just tilts just a little bit, and it just starts sparking. Now, with the plasma ball, you can either leave it on, where it just puts out energy in the air, or you can hit it on audible, where you have to tap the top of it.
Right.
This thing moved just a little bit on its own, and it's just sparking on its own. We had a spiritualist on the team, and she said that it's the cat. It's the ghost cat. It rubbed up against the ball, and it set the ball off. So I thought that was a cool experience. We actually got it on video, and you could hear the cat meowing, and you could see the ball just move just a little bit, and you could see it just sparking.
Awesome.
And it was on part of one of our ghost tours.
The morning that we lost our big dog, I was working up at the Metaphysical Fair in Oklahoma City, and one of the gentlemen up there didn't know that I had lost my dog. And he said, "Corina, would you come here for a moment?" And I said, "Sure." And he said, "What is it with this big dog that's following you?" And I smiled at him, and I said, "Describe him." And he goes, "Well, he's kind of a different color black on his back," and he described my dog to a T. He said, "He's huge." And I said, "I lost my Mastiff this morning." And he said, "Oh, well, I have to tell you, he's been following you all morning." He said, "And when you sit down at your table, he lays down beside you. But he said, I've noticed when people try to come to you, he gets right in between. So they can't," and he says they actually stop where he's laying at or where he's sitting. He said, "Have you noticed that the poodles would not come to you today?" And there was a set of poodles up there, and normally they come to me and let me pet them. They would not that day. So I thought it was wonderful that he was able to see him too, and I knew that he was with me.
Now, on your investigations, do you wear like stones or jewelry, anything like that for protection? Like, you never know when there's going to be a malice spirit or something negative out there.
I do. I actually have bracelets that I've made myself with particular stones, and each one of them have a little skull with them, but you can't really tell what it is. It's a mullah, and the mullah is out of a prayer bead set, and I use them as a guide and protector. The stone that's with it depends on what I'm doing for the day. I have ones that protect you from negativity, ones that protect you from evil spirits, so to say. I have ones that protect you from the evil eye, jealousy of someone else that you're doing things, and ones to bring blessings and protection, stuff like that. I have a necklace that's angel light that calls to the spirits that come to you so you can communicate with them easier. I have an amulet that my husband got me for our anniversary, and inside of it, because it's a locket, I put herbs and a little bitty tiny feather, so that the feather is to remind me of the loved ones who have passed by. But I keep them in my shirt, not because I don't like them out in the open sometimes. I have ones that I have an ankh that I put all the stuff together that is kind of related to the things that I love, just so that it's not bright, but it's just enough. It's for me, it's what I'm comfortable with.
And there's different stones that people can use for protection, like cat's eye. I think it's a good example of a protection stone. People that find arrowheads, if you're Native American like myself, arrowheads are a sign of protection. Can you think of any other stones that can be used for like protection purposes?
Tiger's eye, it's a really, really good stone. You can use bloodstone. And the bloodstone I really like because it's a dark green, so it's one of my favorite colors. But also make sure it has nice red spots in it, because the more red that you see in it, the better protection it is. Fancy jasper is an awesome stone also. There are several. I can't name them all because there's too many. Mm-hmm. But you just got to do your homework. We have a book that can tell you what each stone is for and what the uses are.
On Harlem's podcast, and even with podcasting with Adam Stone, one thing we talked about was the singing bowls and how we use those for ITC or just ghost communication. Just the sound itself from the spirit bowl, it makes a type of white noise, and you never know, you might get EVPs off of that. Now, you can use other items as well, such as bells and anything that makes some type of tone or some type of noise. And one of the theories is, when it comes with ghosts, and something like Peter James, he was a well-renowned psychic and medium, let me kind of get into the story. He was on the Queen Mary doing an investigation, and he's talking with somebody, and you can hear a hum in the building. And piggybacking off this hum you could hear one of the ghosts. It was a captain of the ship, but you could hear his voice piggybacking off this hum. It was just using that energy. And I've been to locations where you could hear a noise and you could hear the spirit's voice echoing off of that. Now, some people believe that may be just pareidolia or matrixing with the sounds. When you listen to it, you could hear another voice on top of another voice or another sound. And I always found that interesting. It doesn't happen a lot, but just on rare occasions, you may get something like that.
Right. And I like the bells because you can use them to call in the spirits so that you can talk to them. We also use bells when we do hand fastings and stuff like that to ask the spirits to join us.
Yeah.
You know, and helping to unite this couple. So they play a big part in what you're doing. Anything to me that's pleasing spiritually to everyone, I mean, you know, you have to have a connection with it for it to work for you. But if it's pleasing, they're going to like it too. And that's something that's really important, not to forget what they would like.
Yeah, one of my podcasts I did, I talked about Ouija boards. And, you know, Ouija boards I just noticed online it's starting to be a big subject again. And on my podcast on Ouija boards, you know, people are like, no, you don't want to use Ouija boards. They're evil. And all this boils down back to spiritualists again. With Ouija boards, when they first came out, it was a kid's game. It was a parlor game.
Yes.
It was made to entertain guests. That's what the board was for. You know, you can sit down, you had dinner guests over, you're having drinks with the old boys, or, you know, just a party going on, and everybody would sit around the Ouija board and try to talk to ghosts. It's still a popular entertainment device today. Does the board itself, is it dangerous? Will it draw in demons? I leave that to the audience interpretation. Myself, I never used a Ouija board before, but one thing I tried to explain on that last podcast about Ouija boards is that you're putting your energy into something that probably doesn't need to be there. The board itself, it's just a board. You know, the placement is just either wooden or plastic, and the board itself is harmless. But when you use it, and depending on your intent with using that device, you can draw negativity to yourself. I was on a home investigation where a lady had all these different religious symbols around her house. She had a cross hanging up, said, this cross is going to protect me and my home. She had medicine wheels put up and dream catchers and all these different religious artifacts. But she was putting power into those objects. And all she knew was she was getting all this negativity in her home. It was affecting her family. And we did get EVPs and stuff out of the home. And we discovered is that she put all this energy into all these items. It just didn't belong. And for some reason, it turns into a receptor of just negativity. It just draws to it like a magnet. So, you know, I always tell people, you know, research, study, you know, get somebody like with you, Corina. You know, if I don't know what I'm doing, I need to sit down with somebody that's professional in the field to tell me, yeah, this is a good idea, or no, that's a bad idea, don't do that.
Exactly.
Most experiences, like I said, with Ouija boards have been negative. And reason being is because the people using the Ouija board their intent is to be funny, to joke around, and they don't realize when they're playing with this device that they don't know who they're talking to. And if I'm a spirit in the room and I got a bunch of punk teenagers, hey, let's be stupid and play with the Ouija board. Let's see if we can talk to ghosts, and they're joking around. Well, guess what? Something negative's probably going to happen.
Indeed. When I was a kid, my sister and I had one, and I don't think we ever played with it. Would I have one here? No. I don't like them. Personally, they bother me. But I can say that anything that whatever you send out to the universe spiritually and you say, I don't want this, what the universe hears is what you are talking about, not the fact that you don't want it, and it brings it to you. So when you think, oh, this is bad, this is going this way, change your thoughts on this. You know, Ouija boards, no, I just don't care for them. I saw a place that's got a little candy tin, and it's a little Ouija board. Now that would be interesting to have just because it's different, but it's not one you can sit and play with. Ouija boards were brought out by Milton Bradley for money, and it really was just to sit down and go, okay, we can do this with it. Well, they didn't realize. People with anything, you can take a bad person and give them a Bible, and their intent to put into it, they're going to bring forth something bad. As far as I'm concerned, when it comes to heaven and hell, hell is here on earth when people bring things into it because of their negativity. If they would turn their lives around to be positive, then they would have better things going on around them. You know, not everything is bad. It's what people make it to be.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the energy that you're putting into this object or this device. When I use the Ovilus, I call it I like to tell people it's like, or similar is probably the best word. It's similar to a Ouija board, but it's mechanical. People don't realize when they ghost hunt and they try different things, that the Ouija board itself, it's just a board. It's just a different way of trying to talk to spirits. I'm not big into summoning spirits. That's just not my thing. But if the location already has activity in there, it's not summoning spirits because they're already there. Now, if you're in your home and you have no activity and then you're trying to summon something to you, you're probably going to draw something to you.
Indeed.
I saw another form of device that people use, and it's similar to a Ouija board, but it is just a piece of paper that they laid flat on the table, and it says yes and no, and it's got the letters of the alphabet on there, similar to a Ouija board, but they put a bowl of water in the middle of it, and inside the water is a cork, and at the end of the cork is just a needle, like a regular sewing needle, and it's made as a pointer, and they put this cork right in the middle of this bowl, and the water settled. And how they use this device is they'll ask the spirit, okay, are you a man? And the ghost, in theory, is supposed to move that cork through the water and make the pointer go to yes, or make it go to no. And kind of similar to a Ouija board, but you're not touching it. It's just the cork floating in the water by itself, and the spirit should be able to move that cork to whatever answer that you're looking for.
That's interesting.
It's very different. I've just kind of dived into it recently. I found a video on it, and I thought it was very interesting. And it was something I always wanted to try. And one of my friends, he was like, "No, that's too similar to the Ouija board." I'm like, "Yeah, but you're not putting your energy into it."
I know I've had people mistake our pendulum boards that we make for a Ouija board, and they're nothing like. That's not what, you don't use them to contact spirits. You use them for the vibration of your body to get the answers you're looking for yourself. This is a type of meditation, divination thing. It's not to connect with the spirit. Our our pendulum boards are just used to find your answer that you're looking for, not to connect, with anything. There's nothing more than yes and no on them, and that's all. So we had a lot of time that we had to spend explaining to certain people that we're not open-minded, and it's really hard to do if people don't want to listen.
Yeah. I heard a story about these two young girls. They went out to a cemetery, and they just picked a random grave, and they don't even know who this person was. And the girl's using a pendulum, and of course she's got a negative intent behind it. Let's play with ghosts, and she's using her energy in a negative way, and she ended up getting a negative response, because all of a sudden they realized that the atmosphere kind of changed a little bit, and then all of a sudden they saw this apparition of a woman, and it literally, this lady, I'm assuming that this was her grave, she was probably ticked off because these girls are standing on top of her grave, and then using a pendulum trying to talk to her, and she's not wanting to be bothered.
Right.
So basically with the story, these girls get scared out of the cemetery, they get in their car, and I guess they could see the spirit in front of the car, and then all the electronics on the car, like the stereo turns on by itself, the lights are turning on and off, And they're like, "Oh my gosh, I found a demon. Oh my God, it's an evil spirit." Well, no, with the story, it was very obvious you were doing something negative,
Made her mad.
and you made her mad. I was watching this one show, and it was more of a Christian-based show. Their subject was on ghost hunting. Everybody, not picking on Christianity or any religion. It's just the idea of, if you're Christian-based, most of us know that, it's either good or bad, light or dark, good or evil. It's either God or Satan, and that's just the viewpoint. But the storyline was on ghost hunting and why they think it's wrong. They talked about a story about a young man in college that decided to use a Ouija board and test it out in the graveyard. And apparently he summoned something to him. And of course that's what he's doing. He's out in the middle of some cemetery and he's trying to summon a spirit. Well, of course he summons a spirit. It was a very negative, dark spirit, and apparently he brought this thing home with him. And then when he's at his house, he allowed this thing to possess him. And of course, they go through the whole story about they had to pray over him, lay hands on him to get this evil spirit away from him. When I watched that, it only showed intent. He had a very negative intent. And all the research I've done with people trying to contact spirits and that had problems with getting attacked or scratched or possessed, every one of them, every story that I've heard, it was because they had a negative intent. Now, everyone I've talked to that's been positive, that tries to communicate with spirits, they don't have a negative problem.
Right.
Now, I've been scratched and stuff like that, and the reason being was I just got too close to something. And they're just basically telling me to stay away. I've never been shoved, pushed to the ground, or anything like that. On investigations, myself, I never asked the spirit how they died. You never know if that spirit, that ghost may not even know that they're dead. Right. And all of a sudden you bring it up to them. I mean, put yourself in the ghost shoes. You don't realize you're dead. You're talking to somebody, and all of a sudden they ask you, well, how did you die? And you're thinking to yourself as a ghost, well, you mean I'm still alive?
Right.
What are you talking about? And then it hits you.
Yep.
That, oh my gosh, I mean, I am dead. A lot of them violently lash out because now they don't know if you're tricking them, because now their concept of, they may have been in a Christian church where they believe you either go to heaven or hell, or depending on their religious belief, they're not where they're supposed to. They're earthbound for some reason. And you just woke them up and said, you're dead.
Exactly.
And that's why they violently lash out.
I knew of a couple of boys that decided to take a crystal ball out into a cemetery because they thought they could collect spirits and put them into the crystal ball. Well, you cannot do that. You cannot go out and collect spirits in a crystal ball. Sometimes things can get absorbed into crystals, and you have to cleanse them by sunlight, moonlight. I've got pink rose quartz I put in the refrigerator, and I keep it there because it'll cleanse it that way too. There's many things you can do to cleanse them. So if you pick up a stone and it feels ick, really negative to you, or just strange vibrations, there's a lot of things you can do to cleanse that negativity away from it. But collecting souls on purpose into something, no. And that's one thing I really, really don't like, is for people to try to disturb them that way. It's wrong.
Yeah, and it all boils down to intent. When I do my investigations, I'm trying to determine if the phenomena is real or not. As a scientific paranormal researcher, I'm trying to disprove that it's happening. And I have to do that because if I'm a skeptic, I'm going to be like, you're full of crap. You know what I'm saying? Because if I come up with something and say, whoop, here you go, I found a ghost, and found out that it's nothing more than a picture of water moisture or a picture of dust, it's just a house settling, it just makes you look like a fool.
Yes. So come down and see us at our new location, and we can show you about cards and pendulums and You can have an intuitive reading. We are going to be opening today in about an hour or two. We will be open till 8 o'clock tonight. And this is our new location. We're at 529 East Main. We're on the other side of Porter, right next to the Allstate people, which are really nice ladies over there. And I'm so glad that you asked me to do this today.
Yeah, I want to thank the audience for tuning in with me. If you get a chance, hit that subscribe button down at the bottom of the YouTube page. Also, like me on Facebook. If you like this podcast and you want more podcasts like this, just let me know. Just comment below the video here.
And you can like Belle's Mystical Beginnings on Facebook also, and keep up with us, and you can learn how to win stones and different things that we give away.
And if you folks get a chance, come down and visit with the Bells. You guys do healing sessions, card reading.
Yes, we do.
Come shop here and check out. They got stuff for ghost hunting. They got different items for spiritualist needs. So come and check them out. And I'll talk with you folks later.